Original, a Small Knights podcast hosted by Lord Hood, Lazarus Clay, and Zagreus.
Episode 57, recorded on November 24th, 2013.
This is Lord Hood.
I'm Zang.
And welcome everybody to the Arsenal Podcast. I am Ladison Sklay, and I have a cough, so excuse me if I hand off some of our talking segments to Lord Hood or Zangrius and hope that they can carry the team, because if you can't hear, I'm still recovering from my sickness, and you'll hear it in the next Spiral Nights Impractical videos. I just have this cough, and it's...
He's been living in a plastic bubble for the past week.
He's a bubble boy?
No! It's not quite
The only
that
way
bad.
that people can interact with him with the big floppy gloves.
He was wearing bomber armor.
Come and give me a hug.
No! But beg pardon if sometime during this episode I have to lean over and cough like I am right now. But someone else say something.
Opening the lockbox.
Cheese.
Yeah, there you go. Alright, Knights of the Triangular Table. Let's get this going. There's 3 hosts. It's a triangular table. It's not
I don't want to sit
circular.
at a triangular table. I don't want to be stabbed.
Is it an obtuse or a cute triangle?
Sit on the side, not on the corner.
Oh, okay.
3 sides, yeah.
Sit the 3 of
I gotta
us.
shamble over here.
Alright.
Alright, okay.
It is the lockbox. Saying it's your turn to open this one. Just...
Sounds like you had to bang it to get it open.
Yeah, the squeaky, clanky lockboxes that have to make noise. So
That kid
that
is
we
not-
can-
Just
Have
gave
to
us-
make noise so that people know we're open.
We special ordered these to squeak when they open.
Oh,
We can't oil these darn things.
Hold the WD-40.
Okay, so what do we have in here? Oh, this is gonna be fun. We have something talking about the lack of a gunner update. And there's also a block of ice in here.
You know,
Why is there a block of ice in here?
I'm just gonna give you the cold shoulder and let you talk about it.
That's frosty. Or maybe it's just straight up that's cold. I don't know.
Come on, go 3 for 3. I dare you.
That wasn't very nice.
Oh, it hurts.
All right,
Oh,
freeze.
You just gave me a brain freeze.
No!
All right.
Darn it!
Oh goodness.
I
All
can't.
right. Well, we had last week's episode was called "Those Flaming
Freezer
Puns."
burn.
So, I think we should just totally get into this. You got some non-gunner update, hate-free, vegan-free, dairy-free.
Diet-free,
Why did I say
shadow-free,
vegan-free? That makes no sense.
We
Gluten-free.
don't like vegans.
Gluten-free, dairy-free, hate-free, non-gunner update discussion, and freeze coming your way in just a moment. Alright, let's try this again. So basically,
No, actually, the excavators told the truth. It was me who lied.
Mission report.
oh, and there's Green Link in the chat room saying, Zang, please chill out. So that could be said.
This episode is gonna hurt. This episode is going to hurt.
Well, having these topics, we're just kind of asking for it.
Yeah, something like that. Well, so before we get to those topics, so let's just hit this real quick. Hood, what have you been doing this week?
I've been playing Leviathan Warships.
Does that have anything to do with Leviathan Blades?
No.
That I'm not interested. Moving on. I'm just kidding.
It's really just kind of interesting, but not something that I'd necessarily buy if I hadn't gotten it from the Humble Bundle.
Ah, okay. Saying, what about you?
I haven't really been doing that much around Cradle. Just kind of been checking in, making sure I'm keeping with the updates and stuff. Just making sure that I'm not falling behind in anything. Nothing really big has happened except for what you're going to be revealing to us.
Yeah, well, we can both talk about that. Last week, we, HRPB and Zhang and I went to the Royal Jelly Palace after recording episode 56 of the podcast to do some, not as much testing as just masochistic torture because we talked about the fire status last week, and so we went and tried to do some runs using only the Fang of Og charge, which deals fire to yourself that you cannot be resistant to, and as a reminder, the fire increases if you have damage bonus for your swords, and we all had damage bonus max. So every time we lit on fire, we lost about a quarter of our health.
I lost more than a quarter of my health, man.
Yeah, it was wretched. But you can check that out at youtube.com/SklayElite and watch that one. It's episode 15. It's called Those Flame... Kill Us with Fire and Pea Shooters. And you can check that out. There, I did another Royal Jelly run earlier in the week and just saw an imposter cube in the Royal Jelly fight. So one of the 3 jellies that spawns with the Royal Jelly was an imposter cube. I was like, oh, hey, just gave me a 10 fight upon nothing else. There's 3 pink jellies that slimes that spawn.
One of them, it was a impasto?
Yeah.
Sweet.
No dapper combo or anything like that, but a 10 fighter, which didn't help me at all. I was just like, of all the places, it's like finding a love puppy in the last Snarblax fight, in the Rabid Snarblax fight, or something like that. Something where it's like, you're not supposed to be here.
Snakes S17, Land of Waka Waka.
Snakes S17!
Snake said Waka Waka. Is that referring to the land of Waka Waka, as in, like, hell?
What does that have to do with anything?
I'm just wondering. Like, Waka Waka could be a noise, or it could be the land of Waka Waka.
Could be Pac-Man.
Okay, anyway.
And the other thing is that I've been sick all this week, and literally when I think about Spiral Knights...
Not a creative color. Darn it, Snakes. Stop making me reference things.
All right. And Impractical is really all I've wanted to do, so I've actually recorded more Impractical episodes this week while I'm sick and with a throat cold than like any week in the history of Spiral Knights Impractical. So there's a bunch of videos that'll be coming out this week, hopefully, including another Wheel of Misfortune run, so that should be fun. It's an hour-long, unlucky romp through the Clockworks.
Wheel of Misfortune. Turn. Tell us
the
the
chroma
lesson
every
that
time.
we should learn.
There you go.
We're going to die? Lovely!
But I don't actually have anyone I actively play with right now, so, like, play the game with, so when I do it, it's like, I'll just do Impractical and play by myself and talk to people, so at least I'm talking to people, because of course I've explained this before, I play games for the people. I don't generally play single-player games, just that kind of thing. So,
because you should be posting. You sound like a Conroy or people like that.
I don't understand that reference or that.
You don't know who Tuka Conroy is?
I don't.
He plays video games for the public. In fact, he's kind of like They're kind of like Game Grumps and all those other groups.
I see. Okay, that makes sense.
They play games for the public so that they're entertained.
All right. Well, there's a lot of people that do that, I guess, but
yeah, I know.
Yep. So
it's a popular thing,
right?
I could have compared you to PewDiePie.
What's up, bros? No, let's not. That actually sounded pretty good with my voice being a couple notes deeper than it normally is. That's actually kind of funny.
How's it going, bros? My name is PewDiePie.
Okay, let's not. Okay.
I have a gun.
Anyway, we have things.
Yeah. Well, you don't have a gun because Spiral Knights didn't give you any.
Oh.
I know.
Ooh, find out more.
All of my hate!
Oh, goodness. This is going to be wretched. Let's go. Overheard at Warcraft Manor from the helmet of someone who likes some creature that prolongs their horn to fight with or something like that.
The helmet is supposed to be resembling to a demon called...
Alright, so we're going to follow a very specific structure for this because I want to make a point, and I want there to be as little, like, repeated... I don't want there to be conflict within the studio and within the listeners, and I don't want there to be us repeating the same kind of thing over and over again as we have with other updates of this nature. So, first of all, let's just lay down the facts first. And the fact of the matter is, there was just one announcement that came out this week, and it said, sorry, but the Gunner update is being delayed until January, which is another 2 months away, month and a half. And that's really about it. We were shooting for November, we landed on January. Well, January-ish. And the first question that I want to ask is, are we okay with it? Don't explain why just yet, but are you okay with the gun art update being extended to January as opposed to coming right now?
Yes.
Honestly, it doesn't bother me that much.
All right. I'm okay with it, too.
I had been looking forward to seeing some of the new guns, and honestly, I was looking forward to finally getting the option of being able to construct a piercing AP, but yeah, I guess I can be patient. I honestly don't really utilize guns all that much anymore.
Right. I assume that there was some kind of a hitch, or Three Rings just didn't get all of what they wanted to get done in time, because the last day that they could have updated was last Wednesday. And if there was any kind of hitch, then they're forced to wait to 2014. And there's a specific reason for that, and I'd like to go through that logic first, and then we can start like yelling and getting mad or whatever, or getting mad at people who are mad or whatever. The point of the matter is that next week is the U.S. holiday of Thanksgiving, which is always on a Thursday. Three Rings updates on Wednesday. So do you... and people will say, yes, I really do. And I say, get a life in the nicest way possible. Three Rings is doing you a favor by not making you play SK the day before Thanksgiving, and the day of Thanksgiving itself, and the day after that, and the weeks to follow, because it's a big update. It's going to take you a while to get all 24 guns. Well, like 8, since there counts the 3, 4, 5 star.
You actually want to get all of them, if you're one of those avid, excessive collectors.
Indeed. So, it's not going to be next week. Then there's December. They probably could have done it first week of December if they're ready, but they won't be working this week. It's their Thanksgiving holiday too, so if it's not ready now, it won't be ready then. That's the first reason. Second reason is, what did everyone say about the Dark Harvest Festival and Apocria? In the nicest way possible, I'm sure the people that complained did not do so violently or acidically, and they just said, please don't stack updates. I'm being sarcastic. But please don't do multiple updates at the same time. What happens in December? Well, Winterfest happens in December, okay? So do you want to be messing with guns and also farming for frosty stuff? And the answer is, more than likely, probably not.
No, we do not.
Some people probably do. Some people probably don't. The biggest reason is, what else is in December? Well, it's a bunch of holidays, and Three Rings is not going to be working the same way. You're not going to be working the same way a lot of people are not going to be working, all right? They're working on their Winterfest update so that they can set it and then walk away and enjoy their December holidays and come back in January, turn off Winterfest, and throw on the Guildhall. Where did that come from? Gunner update. All right? So
we do still need some new stuff in the guild halls, considering.
This is true.
I did happen to see a very, very interesting thing posted by a friend. It was a couple of pictures of some tiny little turkey snipes.
Oh, really?
Yes. But that's on the down low, so we don't know anything about that.
Yeah, let's not... Well, that's interesting. But, in other words, because they had a hitch, we're waiting till 2014. That's just how it is. They said, we're shooting for November. I mean, no pun intended, but we're shooting for November. And they just couldn't land it in the first 3 weeks of November, and that's kind of okay. I mean, it's easy to... As someone who's making this game that lots of people plays, and they're really invested in the game, I think that they want to put out this new content and go, oh boy, I can't wait to see how people react to it. I mean, I get that feeling somewhat every time I put out a new video. I'm like, oh boy, I can't wait to see what kind of reaction I get to this, because I think people are going to have fun with it. I mean, every podcast, every thing that I do, much less them who's the game designers who are actually making the game, they want to get it out as soon as possible, that kind of thing. Well, maybe not as soon as possible. They want to get it out. They want to say, hey, look, it's in November. But if it's not in November, well, sorry, you're just waiting till 2014, because that's how it works. So that's where I'm sitting, and that said, I'm completely okay with it. And I'd just be curious, does anyone want to debate me?
Well, Glacy says...
Really. To be honest, considering what we're going to be getting, it's probably best that they save it for as long as they can. Well, not for as long as they can, but just save it for a good amount of time. because no one needs to be playing into excessive gaming for important times when they should be spending with their families.
And then there's a bunch of people that say, I have a family.
Really?
Yeah, it's pretty sad.
I mean, I can pull myself away from Spiral Nights to spend time with my family. It's not even that bad.
It really isn't. I've gone weeks.
If you're that addicted to... I'm sorry, I like this game. I really do. But if you're that addicted to this game, please. I'm not even going to say it. You should just expect what I'm going to say.
Yeah, just leave it blank and leave it to sink in and figure something out.
Yeah. You really have to play this game day in and day out. I don't even know. I could say something, but anyone who knows me probably would know what I have intended to say.
Something close to that, yes. So, now, I can't say I got mad at some members of the SK community, but I was very much annoyed as I looked at the forums and watched to see what would happen and see if the same kind of thing would happen with this non-update as with other non-updates and quote-unquote bad updates that are really okay updates and that kind of thing. As far as people getting mad at Three Rings for not doing what they quote-unquote promised when they didn't actually promise anything and just filled with a bunch of foolish talk. And so this is forums.spiralnights.com. The node is 93450. And it was started by Damien Foxy, who I very much respect. I believe is a member of Rogue, but it might be the Night's Watch. And I'm Kate myself for forgetting. I'm pretty sure it's Rogue, though. And he just said, so great, you delayed it for us again. What am I supposed to do in the meantime? This is annoying. And the discussion went from there. It got quite extensive and extended to the disappearance of heat crystals, which everyone with intelligence has explained previously, I might add. And if you want to check it out, that link, link to that thread...
Sorry.
Let's go ahead.
Everyone already knows that there's a missing link to the heat crystal. Well, did someone actually find where they were? Because I thought someone found some at some point.
Well, we know where you can find them if you need them desperately, and we know where they're going to be. So it's just a matter of being patient. You
Apparently,
can find them...
someone said they found them in the Firestorm Citadel Shadow Lair.
Yes, they can be found in all Shadow Lairs and Depth 29. Well, 28 and 29. So, like, the last...
Oh, they can?
The actual...
Depth 8 and 29? I need it. That's good to know now.
Like, if you spam the final Vanaduke fight and break those 8 prize boxes, you will get some Shinings mixed with some Radiance. So you get both.
Does that work in the mission, or do you have to actually do the arcade?
Yes. Yeah, anywhere Depth 28.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just got to make sure about that.
That's still kind of...
That's pretty... That's nice to know, at least. It's not like I'm going to need it, considering I've already got Betty completely heated up, thanks to...
Soul,
yes. Thanks to Soul. I knew it was Soul.
But this thread...
God bless his soul. God bless it. No, I'm doing it.
It's contagious.
If you see a treasure vault appear in Depth 28, which I actually don't think can happen, I don't think you can get a random level on the last one. You might. If it does, you should totally spam that.
Yeah,
anyways.
Spam the heck out of that thing.
Farm node, just be patient. Forum node, and I say that to everyone, not to anyone in particular, 93450 is the node. And I just want to give a shout out to Krakow, to Zeddy, to Blasberry, and Bromon, and a huge shout out to Not Hollows, because these people actually have a head on their shoulders of sorts. Not to say that the other people don't, not to say that I'm prejudiced to one side or the other. It's just, yeah, I don't know how to say it without sound like I'm insulting someone, which is not what I want to be doing. It's just some people are kind of...
Say it as you want, and we'll determine whether or not it's worthwhile.
I guess. You can, where was I going with this? Oh, there's just some people, primarily Arcanite Delta and especially Murderface, who are the two people also posting and holding conversation in that thread, which is grown and growing. And Murderface kind of, he was like, okay, fine. By the end of it, the end of the 50 or 100 post discussion, I don't care. 50, it's 50. And I don't know, it's just people being very immature in the way that they complain, and it kind of makes me sad that this community is not mature enough from good players in the game to actually consider the fact that they are not, in fact, the center of the universe, and the true nature of the fact is that they aren't, because the universe has no center, but hey.
I think people continue to forget that Spiral Knights isn't spearheaded by a massive company. This is not a Riot's game. This is not something from a company. This is from a company of people that is very, very small.
Mm-hmm.
They have supported this game for a few years now, and yet you bag on them because they don't let out something right away.
And
you want them to let out something prematurely, have it suck, possibly, and have the community get even more pissed off.
Pretty much. Here's what someone would say to you to that, and this is what happened in the thread, is someone would say, but they said it would be in November, and it wasn't in November, so what are you going to do to pay us?
Well, they want to take another month or two to be able to prepare it for you people. I don't care, honestly. I'm not a gunner. Anyone who's a gunner probably is up to their eyeballs in anger with this update, but to be honest, do you want to get it as early as possible and have it possibly suck? Or do you want them to push it back another month or so to prepare it perfectly or as best as they can for the players that want it?
That's a good point.
It's called being patient and being appreciative.
That's the first level of argument. The second, more objective, and in my opinion, more convincing level of argument is the fact that they did not give a release date. They gave a target date, and they gave that date 2 months out. They gave it 2 months in advance, almost 2 months in advance, and they said, we're going to shoot for this. Having done none of it yet, having prepared nothing of it, well, almost nothing of it, they said, we'll shoot for November. If it doesn't happen in November, well, it can't happen until January. That's just how it is. It's not like they're delaying it 2 months on purpose. It's that they can't. I just explained that. That's why I explained it first.
They at least let us know the month they're going to be releasing it. I mean, with the Battle Sprites update, we were told the first half of the month. The first half of the year. We didn't know exactly what it was going to do, and they ended up being off that by a few days or so.
Mm-hmm. They stayed within their range by a few days.
Yeah.
And there were some bugs, and they had to fix them. I mean, that's the nature of things.
So people, you have to be happy that they at least have a target area this time. They didn't give us a day specifically, but in January, we will be getting the Gunner update. So if everyone can just calm down and be patient.
Here's the other thing that people had said in this thread and that I'm hearing, and it's that 3 Rings just shouldn't give release dates at all. I mean, I'm actually seeing it in the chat room right now. 3 Rings just shouldn't give release dates. Here, let me tell you the one thing that I see what's wrong with that in general, and that is that, first of all, they're not giving release dates, they're giving target dates. Like I said, they're saying, we will aim for this. If we get it, great. If we don't, well, it was an approximation. Sometimes approximations are later than when it actually happens, i.e. the update comes out early, or sometimes it's before and the update comes out later. That's just how it is. Another thing is that people have always, for a long time, demanded 3 Rings community, or, well, 3 Rings, tell the community more. Like, to give us dates, give us times, give us information so we can, like, stay engaged in this whole thing, instead of saying, boom, it's an update, here, have fun with it, and people are like, I've never heard of this before, but okay, fine, let's go with it. And so
but they can't.
3 Rings are trying to appease the community and say, okay, fine, we'll shoot for November. We will shoot for November. And they just couldn't make it in time. It's not the fact that they're not keeping promises. There were people in this thread demanding, how are you going to repay us for breaking your promise? And I think it's just really, really sad.
Oh my god.
It's just kind of like, really?
3 Rings is not Sega, Riot, or any major company, people.
I'd like to ask if anyone has ever heard of Valve Time.
Who have made a game that hosts about 1 million people. If you can't get over that and settle yourself down, then please stop playing the game. Go play something that updates, quote unquote, regularly, quote unquote.
Yeah,
God.
Or just keep it to yourself, or listen to this podcast and come with a listening heart and say, okay, well, maybe maybe there is some reasoning to Three Rings instead of saying that they're just a mindless jerk company, which they're not. And as Lord Hood, as you were just saying.
Yeah, if you're angry about 2 months difference right here, then you've obviously never dealt with Valve. Because there's an official term called Valve time. And it's like 15 years of
You want... Yeah, I'm sorry. I like Valve games to some degree. The only one I've played being Team Fortress 2. But honestly, if you're really going to be that upset about
This.
times for updates and extras, especially... I like what Greenlink says. It's a free-to-play game!
Yeah, Greenlink says, how are they going to repay you for something that they're giving you for free?
Exactly. We could be playing this game by having to pay month after month, like World of Warcraft players. But you know what? We get to play this game for free. You on your own pay money just to get energy and extra crowns to be able to buy your... These are the collectors that I'm talking to. These are the people that I get agitated at when they get mad at the community, when they get mad at Three Rings because they didn't get their stuff that they spent all of their hard-earned money on just to spend for the stupid game. It's a game. If you can't handle that, then please just
Right.
calm
And,
down.
I mean, if you're going to be the collector, like you're saying, not to call out all collectors, I just want to clarify, but just carry a mature self about you, especially when you're on the internet. The internet is a dangerous place. I was dealing just this week with some friends on the internet, and there was someone in the game of Spiral Knights in my guild who was being pretty much a jerk, and I'm not going to give names, but
I know
jerk.
who it is.
Do you?
No.
I don't know who it is.
I know a few jerks
and
in
I
your
don't think
guild, but...
I don't think I want to know, because if I find him in game, I'm probably going to redacted him out.
Exaggerating, lying, manipulating, insulting.
Oh my god,
meanies.
I'm glad that I don't know this person.
That's just, I mean, it's just how some people are like that sometimes. It's like
It's
even
childish.
nice people can get mad about certain things. It's fine. I mean, for me, I get upset when other people get upset about things they shouldn't. Like, you can tell from listening to the podcast. That's just what happens. And this thread, which, again, will be in the show notes on our website, skaleli.com/arsenal. You can show that. Go ahead and check that out.
Like, comment,
But
subscribe.
there you go. But I think that's that. The Gunner update will be coming in January, and you will have, along with your probably New Year's costumes of some kind to enjoy, you can run around in your fancy new costumes with your new Gunner armor and guns and enjoy it for months to come. It will be fun. So now we got to talk about a very cold topic.
God!
It's actually a very... And just so you guys know, freeze is a very cool status.
Okay, I'm just going to break the ice and start talking about this right now.
Okay. Why
Okay.
don't you... So conceptually, freeze is this status that actually, just in cases, Zeddy said this, and I really like it, because freeze doesn't freeze the enemy. It just freezes their legs in ice, which halts their movement, their ability to turn, and their... But they can still attack. Their arms are free. It's just their legs that are stuck. Zeddy thinks that it's ice. It's ice that we got around to this topic.
It might just freeze your
Why?
ankles.
Yeah, so it like freezes your ankles for... There you go.
Yeah.
For,
Or your knees. and
Zeddy,
your
shouldn't you be
ankles.
hibernating? Considering the topic?
I don't want an obese penguin, thank you. That's nice, but I'll just end up eating it, and we don't want that.
Is that
Ew.
supposed... Yeah, never mind.
Alright, so frozen targets, again, it just locks your enemy or yourself in place and you can't move. You can still attack. Frozen targets are freed when attacked by most sources.
Now, I really wish fire did that. Like, come beat me with your sword and put the fire out. Quack, 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 quack.
It is impossible to break free your allies in lockdown, so only opponents can free you. So stop trying to swing at your opponents that have walked into the Shiver Mist Buster, because that was their fault and there's nothing you can
Unless
do.
you're going to hit him with a Glacius charge.
Yeah, there you go. Now, in player versus environment, this is Clockworks only. If freeze breaks naturally, monsters take damage. So knights don't. If ice expires for knights, no damage. For monsters, it does. actually is substantial damage, usually about the worth of one normal sword sling, and by normal I mean Leviathan blade at that level. Seems to be about it. Somewhat less, I suppose, but somewhere in there. Freeze, along with sleep, is the only status that can be cancelled by means more than death or remedy pills. So death will free you from all statuses, remedy pills will free you from all statuses, but freeze and sleep can wake you up if you get hit from friend or foe. So run with your teammates. As of a recent update, guns can now break ice to shoot through them, and if you have a hard time aiming to hit frozen targets as a non-gunner, just click on them. Just bonus tip. Okay. And, alright, let's go on numbery again. Friends,
It's time.
It's
More
time.
Spiral
Welcome,
Knight science.
welcome
Including
back.
math.
Only -6 to 8. I'm sure you're tired of hearing that range by now. The strength of the freeze from -6 to 8, where 8 is the strongest affliction of freeze and -6 is the most resisted affliction of freeze. It affects the duration and the damage taken at the end of freeze. So the length has the same durations of fire. So surely you don't remember from last week, but if you're fully resistant to fire and it's a -6, you'll be frozen for 4 seconds, and if it's at a full +8, you'll be frozen for 9 seconds. So the range goes from 4 to 9 in time. The scale of the +5 and the -1 thing that we talked about, those middle borders for fire, don't actually affect freeze because you're not taking like ticks of damage at any regular rate. You're just stuck. And that's all that matters.
Yeah, you're just kind of stuck there.
Freeze can be either used to disable a group of enemies while you fight others as a strategy, or set you up to target for your next attack. Sorry, I'm kind of reading off the thing. So set it down, freeze a bunch of enemies, and then deal with other things, or freeze them and then charge up an attack and hit those frozen enemies that can't move or turn. Since the freeze since enemies being freed from freeze, that's actually really hard to say. Does damage
freeze?
It was hard for me to say.
Freed from freeze. 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 I'm making it a song. I'm sorry.
Thanks for.
I have a question actually about this though. Does the amount of damage you do to a frozen enemy increase based on the amount of damage you do, or is it a flat amount of damage?
It is
like with the caustic quills.
It is actually neither. Freeze only does damage if. Where was I going with this? Freeze only does damage. Hit. Yes, when.
But that's what I mean.
When it releases the target, when the time expires, when the time hits 0, that's when it does the actual freeze damage. It's the only time. So if you hit an enemy before it comes out of freeze, before the time expires, it's just the normal damage that you attacked them with. There's no additional freeze damage. And so that's why there is actually an effective method of freezing a bunch of enemies and then going away and doing other things and coming back to those enemies, because they'll be free, but they'll also be damaged.
Or you just ignore all that and do what I do. Just keep hitting it with a blunt weapon until it stops moving.
That works too. Now, there was a time in the game a long time ago, like in the beta, where any time someone would come out of freeze for any reason whatsoever would take an additional amount of damage. But that just kind of made freeze overpowered, because you'd freeze someone and then hit them and then freeze them again and then hit them. Because if someone's standing in a haze, they keep getting refrozen as you hit them, and so you're doing additional damage every time, and it's just a little strong. So they took that out. But that was an old thing. Someone want to go through... so the way that you determine how much freeze that you're inflicting is you take the amount of freeze defense that an enemy has, and subtract the strength of the attack of freeze, and you get the final number, where if you're closer to -6, you're more resistant, you'll be frozen for 4 seconds, and if you're closer to 8, it'll be up to 9 seconds. So
that's obviously why Shiver Mist Buster actually works the best, because according to this, Shiver Mist Buster inflicts 0 strength freeze, and
right.
Considering resistances and everything, it actually makes it very easy for you to be able to freeze enemies, depending on the enemy, of course.
I'm looking something up here. Give me a second, you guys.
Okay.
Yes, but Shiver Mist Buster... So, just to provide you with an example, and I totally flipped my scale, and I apologize, but It's the damage done minus the defense. I'm sorry, I messed that up. So, that's why that was confusing. So you take this 0 strength freeze and you say, well wait, it's 0. That means it doesn't cause... No, it's just a 0 strength freeze. It's just it's a minor freeze.
Yeah, so it's 0 minus...
whatever, 4, let's say. Most enemies will have 4.
That means that means that the effect of it will be 4.
Will be -4 because 0 minus 4.
So
and
they won't
-4
be frozen for long.
Right, because they have 4 resistance, which is a high number, and you're dealing 0 minor freeze because 0 equals minor. So keep going through these statuses or these stats of how to freeze somebody. Let me do some calculations here real quick. Or don't go. I'll be right with you.
Freeze. It's cold outside. Now that we're approaching Christmas, actually, Christmas time is a good time to talk about freeze. Think about it.
Yeah, it is. All right. Okay.
Unless you live where we live and it never snows.
This is interesting. A scale of 0 to 14...
So it's like a pH scale?
Kind of. It's the fact of the matter is that it's confusing because before you do your calculations, someone that has, let's say, 4 freeze resistance, that's actually really good, right? You have 4 resistance.
Yeah.
But when you calculate damage, or when you calculate the final freeze, you take 0 minus 4, let's say. -4 is actually better. 4 is bad. The scale flips once you do the calculations. So...
Yeah, logarithmic scale. Yeah, what's pH? The negative logarithm of the hydrogen ions?
Yes.
Yeah, something like that.
Hooray. Sources of +2, which is moderate freeze, include the Hail Driver, the Triglav, because that's a spoiler, so we're totally taking it out. But the Hail Driver and the Triglav charge or swing. The Triglav claims to inflict strong freeze, which is +4, but that's a lie. And your Chaotic Haze, your Dracon that leaves statuses on people, that's also a moderate freeze, so +2. Freeze Vials, Freeze Barriers, Glacius inflict a +4.
It's pretty good. Strong.
And Super Freeze and Ultra Freeze Vials and Barriers inflict a +5 and +6, respectively, as usual. So,
what about traps? What do traps do?
That's a good question. I would assume +4 because that's the general number that you see, but I am absolutely not sure.
Hey, Zeddy.
Yeah, what are traps? I do have this interesting observation here based on the amount of damage.
Zeddy, you're the science bear. Help us.
The academic bear.
We are at an impasse.
Based on the damage that's... Based on the
No,
infliction
Zeddy
that's
doesn't
done.
know! Well, he started as.
Yeah, for...
Alright, so consider this. If you freeze an enemy once, alright, an enemy that has this -6 status, that means they're completely resistant to it, right? You freeze them, they come out of freeze, and you freeze them instantly again, they come out of freeze again. That freeze will do... Okay, each of those does about half the damage of if you froze a +8 enemy, an enemy that's fully vulnerable to freeze. But because the duration for +8, they stay frozen for longer, that means they don't take damage for 9 seconds. Which is, while -6 takes damage every 4 seconds, you actually deal more damage freezing fully resistant enemies than you do freezing fully vulnerable enemies.
Not fully resistant, things that are immune.
Right, well, immune, not immune, but
Yeah.
as close to -6 as possible. That's only at -6. You go any higher than that and it no longer applies.
Yeah.
But -6 is actually more effective. The thing is, it's hard to do that, because if you leave someone in a Shiver Mist Buster, their freeze duration will continue to reset, and there's no point.
Yeah.
It's better to leave them frozen for that 1 9-second period, because that makes more sense. So, I don't know. That's the calculation I wanted to do. I'm just curious. Zeddy says, I am actually not looked into that. Assuming strong. I know Tier 1 traps are moderate at most, because you can be immune to those. Alright then. Alright, so there's your freeze. There's not a lot of weapons that deal freeze, so... But now, who do you freeze? And so we'll go through this from least resistant to most resistant. So,
Fire Deadlights.
Glop Drops, the little purple guys in, Glop Drops. Glop Drops is in the Compounds monster, the mob. Glop Drop has
Mob.
it's a mob of them. They have a -6.5 freeze resistance, and Zeddy adds for some reason, which kind of doesn't make no sense, but aren't you so glad that it exists?
Yeah.
Because 0 minus a negative 6.5. Say you just use a Shiver Mist Buster into compounds. 0 minus a negative 6.5 is a positive 6.5, which is very close to 8. And so they'll stay frozen for a full 7 seconds or so. 8 seconds. So that's nice, and you can like keep them out of the way and keep them from spiking you from underneath. And
Keep them from, like, swarming you.
yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Lichens being the yellow
Lichens.
slimes, and Royal Minis, the little purple guys in the Royal Jelly Palace, have a negative 5 resistance, and Soul Jellies also have a negative 5 resistance too. So
What
those
about
are all
drones? Do they
those are
have
pretty
a...
good.
Because I know you can freeze them when they're up.
Right, but why would you do
Okay.
that?
Just because you can.
Lichens.
I mean, why would you freeze?
Litchy.
Why would you freeze anything?
Yeah,
Lichens.
Zhang, you gonna sing for us?
Do the
I don't
Legion
know,
song,
I'm
Zane.
having an off day. I slept in until about 11 o'clock today, so I...
All right then. Let's see. In the negative 2.5 range, you have Jelly Cubes, so the pink guys. Lichen Colonies, which are the orange guys. Toxigels, which are the green guys. Every type of Devlite, every type of Gorgo, every type of Chroma. So, basically, Chromas, by the way...
Freeze themed Devlights. So.
Yeah, well, if you're freeze themed, you can't be frozen. It's just the matter of it. But well, you're not supposed to be. If you are, I think it's a bug. Chromas are generally resistant to every status, and it's annoying. They have resistance to like almost everything. The only one I don't know is stun, but they can be frozen, and it's kind of good because again, negative 2.5 is good because you're subtracting a negative number, so you'll get a positive number out of that. So
All I know is that Chromas are not immune to stun. They can be stunned.
Oh, absolutely, they can be stunned. And it's just, yeah. Stun is, in theory, a piercing status, but it doesn't really act that way. Like it
acts like a blunt trauma status.
You'd think it would, considering piercing... If you were to get stabbed by something, that probably would stun you.
Right. But, I mean, like, you look at slimes, right? If you stun a
Logically
slime...
speaking.
You stay stunned for like 2 seconds, 3 seconds. They're extremely resistant, which they're extremely resistant to piercing too, so it makes sense.
Yeah.
But
I've had frozen wolvers bury and then reappear outside of the map. Like they're floating in nowhere.
yes, that is a good mention to make. Wilvers can still burrow while frozen.
Burrow or teleport or dig or whatever they do.
Right, so they
They just can't move other than teleporting, I guess.
And they can still bite you though.
Yeah.
They can be rooted into the ground, but they can dig.
In
And then
terms
when they
of
pop
PvE,
back up, the ice is still around.
freeze is one of the most annoying because silver saps.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in just a second. But, yeah, so if you're thinking, I will freeze this Wolver and then blitz charge him. Well, it's a great idea, but he'll still dodge you, even when he's frozen. Okay, so... And appear behind you in attack position. So
And bite you.
And still bite you because he's close enough. So just something to be aware of. And I'm speaking generally. Anyways, just like with fire, as we mentioned last time, Lichens, the yellow to orange to pink, purple, magenta guys, grow more resistant to freeze as they merge. So the giant Lichen colonies with the big scary spikes and the ones that can't fit down tiny hallways, they have 0 resistance. So it's just straight up 0. So if you Shiver Mist Buster one of them, they'll be frozen for 0, which is 6 seconds of freeze, I think. Gremlins also have 0 resistance, which is kind of weird because they have axes and they should theoretically be able to chip away at it. But if it's frozen their ankles, like the liquid inside their ankles, then I guess they wouldn't want to hit themselves with axes, so maybe that makes sense. Quicksilvers have plus 1.5 resistance. Mechanites have 2.5 because Mechanites are annoyingly balanced. Mm-hmm. Excuse me, goodness. And they have like resistance to every status in the world except shock, I think. Wolvers have plus 5 freeze resistance, which obviously their Wolver coats prove that. Zombies have plus 5. Cats have plus 5. So you take a Shiver Mist Buster, you freeze a cat, 0 minus 5 is negative 5, so that's 4 or 5 seconds of freeze. It's not much.
Yep. Cats are annoying for everything except shock.
Shock.
So.
And shock is super effective.
Yes.
You put 1 Voltaic
It's
Tempest...
super effective.
Put 1 Voltaic Tempest down in a tier 3 and you'll take away almost half of a cat's health just from shock damage and that kind of thing. Now, Howitzers, being turrets, they don't actually have any resistance whatsoever, so they're 0.
But it's actually fairly effective to use freeze on them because then they can't rotate.
Indeed. And then oilers and toxoils, so the brown jellies that leave slicks and light on fire, and the ones that appear in
I thought they were
Compound
black.
42, black, brown, they have +5 freeze resistance, which is actually extremely annoying because it means you can't like freeze them to put them out very effectively. It just doesn't work as well as it could.
Yeah.
So that's a thing. Now, one last thing to be aware of is the big, heavy-hitting enemies that deal freeze to you, because that can be scary. And Hood, do you want to talk about like silver saps and stuff like that? Just
Silver
give a rundown.
saps, yes. If you don't have a lot of freeze resistance, they'll whack you. Like, you just don't want to ever be hit by them. They'll whack you, and you'll still be frozen when they hit you again, and then you'll still be frozen, and they hit you again, and so on until you die.
Pretty much.
And then you respawn, and they hit you again. Basically. So you have to go around them.
Beware the frozen lumbers and other things that cause freeze.
That are big.
Fiends.
Thank goodness. Yeah, fiends are awful.
Long range.
If fiends get a hit on you, frozen
Devilites.
Yeah,
are
devilites.
awful. The layofers.
Yep. If they
In fact,
get a hit,
in comparison to the silver saps, I think the layofers are worse.
maybe, yeah. Well, the thing with them is that they're more pestery, and there's more of them. And if they hit you once, usually they'll hit you a second time because you'll be stuck, and then
And a
they'll break
third.
your shield.
And a fourth. And a fifth. And then you die.
Yeah. Zeddy says, oh, by the way, you can be immune to silver saps. You just need +9 resistance. So,
Yeah. So what's bad is when you're in like
so full Skulver,
you're in a
plus
fire
a-
you're in a fire theme level. And you open up a monster box.
or maybe a
and it's silver
combination of
sap.
Skulver and Vogue. I think that might work too.
You
Does
would
Vogue
need-
protect against freeze?
no. It's all fire. You
Oh,
would
damn.
need a full set of Skulver +1 low UV, which is a
Yeah.
+1 of freeze. So
Yeah.
that would make you immune. That's interesting. All right. Well, there you go. That's your freeze. That was a cool discussion. Though, I'm trying.
Yeah.
There's-
Malos is annoying when.
Yeah,
It hits
there.
you.
It's
It is
no
ice
use
and
talking
ice.
about it anymore. So let's move on. I think
you
we're
have
just.
to kill me in the end. Darn you, Lattice and Clay.
No use. That's a good one.
Well, thank you. All right, so we'll just go to transmutations, really quick here, and
Alrighty.
then move on.
Transmutations.
Okay, so we have capes, a snarby gun, community costume, kick from guild halls, and a familiar zombie army that kills everything in your path. Okay,
So
next.
nothing new.
Let's go.
No, pretty much. That's what we want to see in the game still.
Yeah.
Spiral Order Recon.
Spiral Order Recon.
I got it. Yikes.
All right, so once again, another quiet week in Spiral Order Recon, but there are things brewing. You know, it would be me to say last week a bunch of parodies that I'm going to record this week, and I get a throat cold.
Yeah.
Exactly what would happen when I say it. So, no recording got done, just a bunch of impracticals. So,
Okay, whenever I hear the song on the radio, Imagine Dragons Demons, whenever he says Masquerade, I always think Masquerade for some reason.
that would have been a good use of
Have you
it.
ever-
I just went with Mask of Hate. But
Yeah.
and now that I'm thinking about it, I shouldn't have said Apocria, it's where Apocria hides. I should have said it's where the Firestorm hides. That would have made a lot more sense, but oh well. So, because we were talking about it before the show, and I think it's worth mentioning, and I think we should totally do it sometime, especially this week, because it's Thanksgiving holiday, at some point, is we were talking about doing a Spiral Knights Impractical episode that is just a themed challenge around Plants vs. Zombies. Based on the last run that we did last week, where we had the protogun and we're calling it a pea shooter because that's basically what it is. So go into a zombie level and bring these plants-themed weapons from the Plants vs. Zombies game, which if you haven't played, you are totally missing out.
Except for
We'll
number 2.
create a listing of them so that it's a lot easier when we do make the episode, of course.
Right,
It'll probably be a lot easier once we figure out what the heck we're doing.
right. What were some of the things that we suggested?
Pea shooter's obviously going to be the pea shooter. The snow pea is going to be the frost shot, little one. Barbarous Thornblade charge is going to be the chomper. Cherry bomb is going to be a firecracker, and the autogun is going to be the
Gatling.
tri-shooter.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
The
I think maybe.
Yeah.
It might work like that. We'll have to determine it based on what we've got.
And Shiver Mist, you know the ice mushroom that explodes and freezes everything? That can be Shiver Mist.
Oh, there you go.
And like the Doom Shroom can be a bomb, like the Nitronome
Make
or
the
something.
Doom Shroom the Bab.
Yeah.
If any of us had a Bab, that'd be
I don't
awesome.
have a Bab.
Or Nitronome.
If you
I'm
have
just making a suggestion.
there you go.
Like, raise your hand in the chat if you have a Bab,
Who has a Bab?
and a Nitronome. Bab and a
And
Nitronome.
Both?
And a nitrogen.
Yeah.
But
I'm sure
a Bab,
Sadie
I
probably
think, would
does.
work better because the Doom Shroom is like
Music Crater.
unbelievably overpowered,
It
and
turns
that's
things
why
to
it also
dust.
destroys the. It damages the spot of ground
Dust to dust.
that it explodes on.
Yeah, so this is a target date for recording this week, not an actual date, so we're not promising a thing. But maybe that will happen this week, and maybe you might see it soon. If you have ideas for your own plant weapons...
Oh, right, Bob has a Bab. Where did Bob end up?
He's totally still in the Clockworks, and don't give spoilers for episode 100.
Damn.
Yeah, I think we
Fine.
left him. I saw him in game the other day. He was yelling, "Help me!"
Episode 100, The Quest for Bob, Return to the Clockworks. It's the name.
That really is the. Oh God.
And Greenlink's clarifying, yeah, Bob from episode 50. Yes, totally check that one out. It's redonk. So
Go
if you
back,
have...
watch episode 50, enjoy.
Oh, speaking of Smart Little Recon, we can mention this. Sir Jinxable gave me a progress report. We're in the 75% state to get through animated episode 50, and I still think he's completely awesome, and I kind of want to find a way to pay him in some way, because an hour of animation is quite much more redonk than anything else.
Send him
Let's pull some money together and we'll buy him a costume off the auction.
Send him 100 males with 1 crown each in them.
Someone said that. Someone said that they were going to send me, because my birthday's coming up in a couple weeks here. 3 weeks, December 9th. They were going to send me just mail where each one had 69 crowns, and they were going to send me enough of them to get to 6969 as the total. And if I wanted to accept them, I'd have to go through 100. Yeah, you can just send 101 mails.
Oh.
So it's going to be 250,000 postage. But,
Yeah.
250.
250.
That was so
Oh my
wrong.
God, is that
I'm-
worth
no,
it?
no, 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 no,
No.
I'm totally lying through my teeth. 2,500.
Yeah.
No, just
It was
kidding.
someone from Genpire, I can tell you that.
Just kidding, because it's a
No,
there's
wouldn't it be
goes up-
25, 25?
It goes up to 100 because you're sending crowns, so it's just 100 times 101, so that's 10,000 crowns.
not
But
too
if
bad.
someone wants to do that to pass on 6969 crowns to me, I'm like, no, just please don't.
couldn't you just give 6969 to somebody directly?
Yeah, but that wouldn't be
Wait,
annoying.
you look on your guild treasury, and like the log. It's like
I don't have
so
a
and
guild.
so.
I can't
So and
look
so
at a guild
donated
treasury.
696969696969 like 10 pages of it.
That was Echo of Silence that did that, and that was silly. But yes, that's a thing. So
I should either join up with Lad's Guild or Lord Hood's Guild.
do you have a
I
guild,
really
or are
need to
you
join a
wandering
guild
too?
again.
I have a guild.
Okay,
I'm in Lionheart. As
It
far as I
sucks
know.
to be guildless. It really does.
you're a traveling mercenary out for hire.
Not gonna be a maybe.
All right, so
Nothing says a mercenary like a giant battle cleaver.
pretty much.
Yeah.
And like a ski mask and cloak, like that's ideal.
It's not a ski mask.
I'm just fooling with you. So last thing to wrap up, just the Plants vs Zombies. If you have your own like plant themed weapons that you think would be interesting, just totally suggest them to us through any means that you would like on the forums. Squarely.com/arsenal/forums, send us an email, all that kind of stuff. Speaking of Sir Jinxable as well,
Have our contact information directly. You can just send it to us directly if you happen to have whatever form of contact we have.
absolutely. Sparrow Knights Anime Episode 4, We Can't Stop Now by Sir Jinxable came out this morning, and it's got a bunch
I
of
just watched it.
it's got a bunch of juicy fighting in it, and
It's awesome.
you've got to use your imagination
Blood and
because
gore.
there's no third-party editing going on in it, but it's still
I'm
pretty
still
great.
not in the episode. Darn it, Sir Jinxable.
Get me in the... You should have been one of the vanguards. And just be
thought
fighting.
I was going to be one of the vanguards.
It's like, please,
I
please,
don't know.
please.
I know it's selfish, but I thought I was going to.
Oh, well. Maybe next time. You'll be better
I
than
expected
that.
to be the one. I didn't watch the entirety of the episode. I only got to the part where the first two were fighting. So I don't know if Star was fighting against me at the end. So I didn't see that.
Yeah, it's not. Sorry.
Damn it! No.
No, if it's someone
Time
else.
mark.
Though some of the animation additions that he added were pretty impressive. Once again, you can't criticize the fact that it's not actually an anime, and you can't criticize the fact that it's just a bit janky, because that's what you get for Spiral Spy. Instead, you should be thankful, as we say so many times on this podcast. Besides, it's Thanksgiving week. Come on.
Now, who else has made a Spiral Knights anime? No one that I know of.
And I mean, if anime bugs you because it's not an anime, because some people said that, they're like complaining, it's not an anime, though.
Shut up.
How about Spiral Knight's animation series, episode 1?
Well,
Like,
anime
go with
stands
that.
for animation, doesn't it?
It does, so whatever.
I mean, he could have. I mean, I'm pretty sure if he could have, he probably could have pulled together a bunch of people to do voice acting for the characters, and that would have made it even more awesome. But you know what? What we got now is pretty good considering Spiral Knights.
And considering the editor that he has.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean,
Considering the editing he has
number
to
of
do in
people.
every single episode with everything. I mean, in this episode, he has somebody using the gremlin fire stick.
Yep.
That's probably not easy to get to work as a weapon, like a sword.
I assume it's not. No? And speaking of... So, Ted, go check that out. Show your support. All that stuff. Searching Tool is awesome. He's approaching 500 subscribers, which for an SK community is pretty solid. And lastly, speaking of Freeze, actually, Lockdown is Silly, which was posted on the Jay's blog and stuff, the Tumblr Jay's blog and stuff, is just a art picture that's pretty good of depicting what happens when you get one of those bombers that just stands there and leaves you in the outer radius of their Shiver Mist Buster, and you just stand there for the entire game, frozen
seen that
the
picture.
entire time.
Oh, God.
So, that's just something that we wanted to feature. It was a nice, humorous piece of art. Also, one of the only notable pieces of art this week. It was kind of a quiet piece. Not to say that any art that was posted was not notable. It was just this was the one that showed up a bunch. And we try to skirt around Fan Art Friday when we can, because most of people have seen Fan Art Friday. If not, twitter.com/Spiral Knights. There's about 3 to 5, maybe 6 pieces of art that go up every Friday afternoon. In Eastern Standard Time, again, back or forward, and there's some stuff there. So, but Lockdown is Silly. That's your SOR, your SOR, your Spiral Recon fix for the week, and I think we should forge forward once again. Do I have a? Can I get a second or a third?
Yes.
Here.
All right, that makes me feel
Typically.
happy. Thank
Maybe.
you. I feel.
I don't. Yeah.
Well, maybe not. Maybe we should just stay here and stall for another... I don't know. Nah, maybe not. Buzzar. Banter. So, Buzzar Banter is where we discuss a line of gear every episode, and we are into the costumes now, don't you know? And we are a bit late, but that's just how the chronology works for the Halloween masks. So,
And we're always delayed.
but
So,
it's just the
that's normal.
delayed episode. But you acquire these masks through Candy during the Dark Harvest Festival, which is a 2-week event? It's a 2-week event that
I think
happens
it's
in
2 week
October.
event, yeah.
And that's basically the only time. There is a... What are the names of the smaller 2 versions? I know there's the Authentic, but what are the other 2?
There's the...
Paper, and then like the...
I don't
Paper.
remember.
Paper bag.
I didn't have the fake one. I didn't have the temporary ones for long enough to even care that much, because I was just like, I'm not going to get a temporary one. I'm getting all 3 of the real ones.
Yeah, replica.
That was like the
that's
one
right.
time I decided to be excessively collective of something.
Right. So there's a Frankenzom, which... Okay, so let me explain this real fast. There's 3 tiers you can get. Each one is more expensive than the other. The first 2, the paper and then the replica, thank you, Krakob, for pointing that out, they expire. I think it's 2 weeks after you purchase them. They're like paper masks. They actually look kind of cool. I like the look of the paper thing. Like,
I don't really like the paper ones because they're just a pith mask with a piece of paper put on.
Well,
the front.
maybe okay, that's true. I do like the replica ones more than the paper ones, but
Yeah,
both of
the
them
replica ones looked pretty good. I just kind of wish that they weren't temporary.
yeah. I wear the replica ones as much as I wear the authentic ones. And the authentic...
Yeah.
So the first two kind of look like paper bags over your head kind of thing. And then the last one is an actual Phantom mask, Franken-Zombie mask, or Spook-Cat mask. And so, Zhang, it sounds like you own all of them.
I do possess all three.
I own all of them. And Lord Hood uses one of them as his primary costume helmet.
Yeah,
I used to use the Phantom mask as my own as well, but people kept telling me that the costume they didn't like the costume. It was Vogue and the Phantom mask. I thought the colors blended pretty well.
It does. Most people would say they're made for each other. I think maybe where you would get in that feedback is that, like, everybody does that, to be honest, during Halloween.
I didn't see anybody doing that, actually.
Huh. Okay. I saw a bunch of people this year, especially.
Well, that's probably because people have seen it as a combination that actually works.
Yeah, I guess.
And
So
that's
you
why
were
I
the
decided to
trendsetter.
change up my costume permanently to what I have currently now. Because, honestly, I find that to be a bit more original.
You were the trendsetter. You were the original.
Of course I am.
Of course you are. So the Phantom is the, like a phantom face with, like, the, Dinkelberg, like, mouth thing. I don't
Yeah.
know what I'm saying.
The Phantom mask is essentially the mask that that Maskwell is wearing.
Yes, that's pretty much it. It's got a hood. It's nice. Franken-Zom,
looks-
blocky,
yeah.
clunky, oversized, I might add, gray mask with some prismatic
It
features.
essentially looks like the Franken-Zom zombies.
Right.
Just a bit more blocky.
And then you got the Spook-Cat, which is just this sleek Spook-Cat mask, which looks really good with most of the dress armors, the Seraphic
Yes.
and Angelic and Crest and or Crown of the Fallen, all that stuff.
It also looks pretty good with the scale armors if you can get the right coloration.
That's true. There is no prismatic feature that I'm aware of on the Phantom. Maybe the eyes on the Phantom, but not the Spook-Cat. Your personal color does not shine through on those. I think the
because
Franken-Zom it
Spook-Cat
does.
doesn't really have eyes. It has slits.
Yep.
But
And-
the Franken-Zom has eyes, so your eyes will show through those curved little holes that are supposed to be eye holes. How do we practically see through half of our armor sets?
Heads
kind
up,
of-
okay, so the theory is that you have artificial eyes on the outside of your helmets, like two cameras, and inside the helmet's a heads-up display.
I assume that in the helmets that don't have visible eyesight, there's like a headset that acts like a pair of glasses that allows you to see outside of the helmet, and that's what those fake eyes are for. They act as a set of camera eye lenses that essentially allow you to pick up on details that you wouldn't be able to pick up on.
Works for me.
So, in out-of-game canon, technically, masks that cover your eyes are a bit better because they're more technologically advanced than seeing what you would normally be seeing for yourself.
And they're more protective.
And they're more protective because then your eyes can't be stabbed out.
Right. But anyway, those are
Or
the
shot
masks.
out.
If you got your replica
blown
or
out.
paper this year, they've probably expired by now. In fact, I'm sure they've expired by now.
Most likely.
But I hope you enjoy your authentic masks if indeed you own them. If not, I think they're worth getting. I think, personally, in the order of Phantom,
And-
Franken-Zom, Spook-Cat, but people will do it in their... I've had mainly girl players that do it in the
honestly,
reverse order.
They're so easy to get now because the mission... Isn't the mission No, the mission's not replayable,
No.
right?
It is not once you collect your loot. Once you get into the you can like replay the first level if for some reason you want to spam graveyards or something like that. But not really like it matters because we're not going to see it for another year.
Yeah.
So just ended a couple
You
weeks
can
ago.
you can continuously do it over the 2 weeks. You can continuously get a good source of them from the mission, and then you can just venture around in the clockworks, and you'll find them there. You can
Yep.
still find them. You just gotta look really, really hard.
Yep. So have fun with that. Once again, 10 out of 10 would recommend. I think, especially since it's pretty effortless, and you can get at least one of them just by doing the daily mission every week, which is free prestige. So why wouldn't you? And that is Halloween masks. There is actually nothing in unique variants, which is listener contributions. We have nothing that like people have contributed. this week. So we're gonna wrap up. That's the end of the show. So
all right.
Thank you guys all for listening. Is there anyone you want to shout out to?
I ran with a guy called All Hollows.
All Hollows.
Mm-hmm.
I'll give mine to HRPB for helping out with the Impractical episode because that was pretty fun.
Yeah, that's what I was going to do. But thanks, HRBB, for playing with us with that. So I assume All Hollows and Not Hollows are the same person, because that only makes sense. Not Hollows on the forums and All Hollows tonight.
I don't
But
know.
okay then.
I'm not sure.
Maybe.
There you go. You all are awesome
Or maybe
people.
it's a tag team. One works the forum, one works the actual game.
That would be so weird.
We will never know.
Nope.
You could ask him.
Until he
end of-
lets us know in the after listening to this episode and then posting on the forums.
All Hollows is my brother.
Otherwise, we will never know.
Plot twist, All Hollows is Zang.
Or
Zang
snakes.
Zang is a cake is a lie. Zang in a box.
Uh,
What am I saying?
No. The Zang is a cake, the cake is a lie, the cake is in a box. And I'm in the box. What flavor is it?
Ah, that's what it is. Well, thank you. Thank you.
Cake flavor!
Cake. Ladies and gentlemen, it's the end of episode 57. Couldn't you tell? Thank you for listening. It's like we start to expire. It's delicious.
We're
Cake.
dead. Cake.
But the cake is a lie.
Episode
I'm
57.
Is it ice cream cake?
The
Like
cake is in a box.
frozen cake?
And I'm in the box!
But what flavor?
Cake flavor.
What is this? Tell a friend about us, except not the end of this episode, apparently. I'm completely fooling. The more listeners we have, the more our influence grows and our world domination becomes clearer and clearer and closer and closer. I should stop saying that, shouldn't I? I'm just giving our plans away week after week. Yeah, we'll totally take that one out for next time.
World domination, ho.
You can call us if you'd like at 1-678-322-7765 if you are into that sort of thing. It's just an answering machine kind of thing. It goes straight to voicemail, so you can call it and just leave a message and say who you are and say what you want to say. And we'd be happy to put you on the show or that kind of thing. It's an audio podcast after all. If you want to contribute at all, you can join the Steam group and leave a message there. Stop the tapping. Are you doing that on purpose?
Yes. Well, it's the end, so.
It's the end. Let's just do all the things we're not supposed to do. I'll start creaking
If
this
I was
table.
doing it on purpose, it'd sound like this.
Yeah, there you go. Is this annoying, listeners? You can find us on Steam. The Steam group is the Arsenal Podcast with Sklay in parentheses. The abbreviation is TAPSE. You can email us at arsenal@sklaelite.com. We're on Twitter, we're on Facebook, we're on Tumblr, we're on iTunes, and we're on YouTube. Most of them are at either Arsenal Podcast or Sklaelite, and if you Google search either of them, you will find us. I promise, because I've done it multiple times, and it's there. Sklaelite.com/Arsenal to find all the links we've discussed in this episode, as well as to listen to all past episodes and some other cool stuff, including the forums, where you add a /forums to the end of the website, and you can get there. Once again, youtube.com/Sklaelite. Fun stuff's going to be going up on there soon. And perhaps parodies, assuming my voice gets better. My voice actually calmed a little bit. Like, I haven't been coughing as much as previous. But, so, hooray. It
It's
must
the
be the...
magic of radio talk shows. As soon as you get off, you're just going to start coughing up a storm again.
Watch it happen. Let's see, alright? If it happens, I will add it to the end of the episode. If not, thank you guys for listening to the Arsenal Podcast. Lord Hood, Zangrius, and Lads and Sklay.
Yo.
And we will see you all next time. Goodbye, everyone.
Geared up and ready to go? Thanks for listening to the Arsenal, a Spiral Knights podcast. See links and listen to previous episodes on our website, sklaelite.com/Arsenal. Send comments, questions, and audio to arsenal@sklaelite.com or give us a call at 1-678-322-7765.